the process I'm going to walk you guys through is basically it's going to be a verbalization of my own decision-making paradigm that I use when I'm in situations like this, and I use this at every single progression. Every single time there is a motion filed, go, okay, what are they trying to do here? Is the motion for a different judge, the judge to be changed in something that, okay, well, they're stalling for time. Why are they stalling for time? What about the enemy, your adversary's actions can tell you about their assessment of where they're at in the situation? Are they confident? Are they weak? Are they arrogant? It's called the landscape, right? And so that's going to be, in this circumstance, let's start with the individual. The individual that you guys are comprised of has probably half a dozen to maybe a dozen tort claims for damages on emolument violations, which are when the government that is tasked with protecting the rights of the individual according to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights actually pays their public employees to violate those constitutionally protected rights. That's called an emolument violation, and that is a absolute slam dunk with the proper process being followed for pretty much every single one of you there. And what you would stand to gain is some money, some Federal Reserve notes, which, that's not nothing. That's so your personal consideration on what that would do to your life. Where are you at in this fight? Are you tired? Are you just getting started? Are you absolutely exhausted and you're sick of dealing with these idiots because they never listen? And if you can, just set yourself up for the rest of your days and go do your thing, man, that sounds pretty nice. That's a pretty good definition of victory. As far as the process to take that on and be successful at that, that's another discussion, and probably would be a little better to go into maybe on a case, not a case-by-case basis, but definitely after, I was able to, the things that I had you guys write out about, tell the story in as small a facts as possible, what happened to you. We could go through that. We could do that next if that's what makes sense. But I think that at this point, the pivot for that into something to be done with the Republic of Texas would be to utilize the common law jury the way that you guys did before, because of the validity that the other side gave to it by their recent actions. But do that on a level that cannot be assailable the way it was before. And you would do that by including the powers that be on that side of the fence, and you would send them a contract, say, here's what we intend. You have any standing or knowledge of any law that would make this process unlawful that we're engaging in, then let us know. That's your, we're asking you as our elected officials to inform this process. And of course, they're going to send you all kinds of stuff about how they can't give you any legal advice, but we can get into that later. But what I see, the possibilities of what this opportunity that your group has been given collectively to turn it into, in my opinion, if it was done correctly, then, and some of this is going to be out of your control, but a lot of it is going to be, just having patience and keeping working at something until it works out the way you want it. No press is bad press type of a thing. But the opportunity that I see that your group has been given collectively, because you all have been harmed in such a similar way, is that so many people that maybe don't even understand the way in which they're being damaged right now by their public servants and by the system, but they know something's off. They're right on the cusp, right? And so if this opportunity was taken to remedy the situation as far as policy goes, of boots on the ground, and the way that these policy enforcers interact with citizens of the Republic, both the Republic of Texas and the Republic of America, I think that it would be one hell of a battle. I think that there's probably individuals that already have thought about this potential reality that are in opposition to us right now for whatever reason. And so I think that you could expect for the institution to come down on you even harder before it got better. And I think that would be, even if it's wrong, even if that assessment is wrong, about how hard it would be and what you'd have to go through to get there to victory, I think that to decide that you're just going to keep going right now would be the one thing that needs to be spoken of, and maybe even speak about, some of the horror shows that they can put you through, just so that you know what you're signing up for. Because not to say that I know it's going to happen, but it certainly is a plausible reality for there to be a full frontal attack, so to speak, from the institutions on the individuals to choose to take this on. And, and it'll be a whole principalities thing. You have to face the policy enforcer that's right in front of you, wanting to break your window in and handcuff you and drag you across the concrete and throw you in jail for a few days. Like that's probably going to happen to more than a couple of people, but it already has, right? But if you're willing to accept that is a very real likelihood for many of the individuals that choose to take that path, I think that once again, the more that they mistreat you, the more they just prove how wrong they are and how badly this righting moment needs to happen in this society before it gets out of hand. Because that's exactly where we're headed, in my opinion, is things are going to get out of hand. But possible pivots into propping up the republic would be to be able to share the successes that you're having in court with different individuals that can witness it happen with their own eyes. And the validity that firsthand experience is going to impart to this whole thing, I think, is the crux. Like, that's the priceless part of it that absolutely must happen in the eyes of the public, in the court of public opinion. And then victory at that point will be just a matter of, engaging in a defensive manner against those who come opposed to you, and just wait for, the public awareness to catch up. And I mean, it'll be something that will end up righting itself. Like, that's the long-term strategy that I see being something that is actually attainable. And, whether that's 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, I can't tell you. I don't know. My ability to anticipate how slow or quickly people are going to wake up and, realize that things are bad and something's got to be done. My ability to comprehend when that moment is, I've given up on that a long time ago, because I don't understand how people aren't in the streets right now. I really don't get it. So the timeline that this is involved, it could be for decades. I don't think that if we played our cards right, I don't think that would be the case, especially if there was, kind of like an agreed upon framework going into it, that was all right. So, here's the fronts that we need to focus on, whether it be networking or social media, and then also getting the individuals that are interested in all of this literate in what all this terminology means. There's a lot of bad information out there, and partial information. Even conclusions that are accurate and correct for the context in which they're in don't really translate well to much else of anything, and so there's processes and claims out there that have valid evidence that they exist and they work, but then there's some, contextual blind spot, if you will, that makes that process and that ruling kind of irrelevant for most everybody else. So awareness and education is going to be probably the hardest battle to win in pivoting what you guys have going on into something that would be a benefit for the Republic of Texas and the Constitutional Republic as well. The one thing that I'd like to say at this point, before I let you guys kind of decide where we're going from here, is, what does the Republic look like for you guys?
Well, this, Cody, what about going and talking to like the Secretary of State to let them know we're a peaceful nation and we want to have good relations and try to work out some kind of settlement that way without having to go into a long duration of litigation, which takes years. What about just coming in peace? And this is what happened.
Yeah.
Treated raw.
I absolutely love that idea. The response that I have gotten, whether I show up at their doorstep with a white flag, or whether I show up, with machine gun ammo. And of course, this is a literal sense, right? I mean, a figurative sense, not a literal one. But whether I show up at their doorstep, strapped with claymores and ready to throw down, the response that I get from an office of that stature, of that level of, personally so far anyways, is that they absolutely ignored me to the point where they couldn't ignore me anymore. But once they ignored me, I started using that to my advantage and sending them offers to contract that had that if you're silent, then that means you agree. Made it a unilateral contract and tied them up with their oaths of office and their authority and their fiduciary obligation in the office that gave them the authority to even exist to begin with. And I think that to try and discuss peace with an individual who's a cog in a machine of war is going to prove to be not a waste of time, but I don't believe that it's, in my experience so far, I haven't found a way to turn an encounter like that where you come to them talking about peace and talking about, mutual beneficial arrangements. And so far, my assessment is that those individuals think that you are so out of line to even believe that you have the standing to even talk to them about something where you work together, because in their mind and in their eyes and in their perception, you're a peon. You're just one of those, you're one of those citizens out there that's supposed to just do what they're told. And whether or not that's an accurate assessment of that individual that I'm dealing with, their perception or not, that's what it seems like. And so for the purposes of this explanation, I think if you could take that kind of, at a given, so to speak, that's the attitude that I ran into. I think that the best bet would be to convene the Republic in an official capacity and send whatever office you're talking about offers to contract. And I think in your guys' situation, I would start by passing laws from the authority of the Republic of Texas in the Congress and in the House, and use your guys' process, publish them where they need to be published, and send an invitation to someone. I would do the State Department, I would do the Attorney General, I would do the Secretary of State, I would do the Lieutenant Governor of the State of Texas, the Governor of the State of Texas, Paxton, the AG, and then some representative or emissary or some authoritative person from the executive office of the president to attend the Republic of Texas hearings and give public testimony as to how to craft your guys' legislation that is going to require the United States government, in order as a remedy for your senators, your representatives, and your citizens of the Republic of Texas, to not have to deal with the damaging usurpations of right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, listed. All the stuff you guys just ended up going through. invite them to the Senate and House hearing where the bill will be drafted in the Republic of Texas, so that they may have testimony to inform said rulemaking, giving them an opportunity then to be spoken and be heard, at which if they decline, they now have the obligation to follow the rules because you guys are self-governing. And I would make that something along the lines of that the State Department needs to issue citizens and representatives and elected officials. You know, you could make it read the same as like 5 U.S.C. 3331, all positions of profit or honor in the Republic, appointed or otherwise, you know, are entitled to a diplomatic immunity passport from the State Department, because that will remedy the situation where your citizens and your elected officials are being, you know, basically attacked, and your freedoms are being taken away.
I can tell you.
So here's a remedy.
I can tell you that they don't recognize us, which is okay because under 18 U.S.C. Section 11, the Republic of Texas is a foreign government. If you read Section 11, it says that foreign government is a group of insurgents in a country with which the United States is at peace, regardless of recognition. And so they know that we're a foreign government, and that was what I argued when I sent those affidavit and all of that stuff. And I said that I was entitled to diplomatic immunity, and they dismissed everything. Now we're hearing actually that there's possibly something coming down from the feds. But I don't think so because I went and filed an affidavit of life into a recent federal court case, and it'll be easy for me to have that moved in any other case as exculpatory evidence. And that's what I was planning on doing in my case. But and that's why I think that they may want to settle the matter, and that's why I think that we could probably go to them and say, look, you know, we don't want to be at war with you. We want to be at peace, but we've been damaged, and we need some relief. And we'd rather not file a war crimes complaint against you. And because that's what, you know, I'm fully prepared to do is file a war crimes complaint. And actually, what I'm actually thinking about recently doing is filing a criminal complaint against them for attempted murder and sending it to Donald Trump and telling him that I have no confidence that they're going to investigate this matter because of the corruption and the fact that they went and assaulted me with this fake warrant, and here's why it's fake. And they intended that I exercise my right to resist their unlawful arrest, so they'd have an excuse to murder me. And let Donald Trump look into it. I'll bet you he would. I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've sent him letters, and he starts coming up talking about them on TV. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And the president has recognized the Republic of Texas. So we are entitled to whether they recognize us or not, we're still entitled to be treated they need to open up some communication so that we can make sure this doesn't happen in the future. Anyways, don't get me going.
But I hear you, and I think that you have one drastically, albeit altruistic, but one drastically fatal flaw in not necessarily your series of events, and certainly not in your desired outcome. But unfortunately, I think that, you know, the point at which the individuals involved in this are going to have to, you know, choose one side of the line or the other, if that makes sense. the venue of the court of law is where civilized war is waged. I mean, there's an oppressor, there's an oppressed. I mean, there's an attacker, there's a defender. And you go in there, and the only punches that you pull are the ones that actually would draw blood. And so I think, I mean, you're talking about war crimes, and you're talking like, yeah, I agree. But if your goal is to go in and utilize those modes of ordinance, which is really what it is, if you think about the venue as a place to wage civilized war, if you to deny that these individuals that you're going to be coming against are going to feel threatened, and then therefore be in a mindset as the individuals who are losing power, losing authority, and whose entire paradigm on the way that they view their reality and their life and their relationship to that reality is crumbling with the introduction of very real, very effective, and very powerful law that these people were, up until you brought it to their attention, were completely oblivious of. And so to deny that aspect of the human experience of the individuals that you're going to be coming against is the flaw that I think I need to point out. And what you do with that, what I would do with it is going to be different than what somebody else would do with it, because my appearance and my way that I intimidate people, just my physical presence. Like I'm not the guy that you send to wave the white flag and try to get a peace treaty. I'm the guy that you send when you want to pick a fight and kick somebody's ass. I would utilize that information differently than someone else who has a more appealing demeanor to someone who's afraid. And so, I'm with you on your goal. However, I think that the steps that you are lining out, the path on which your trajectory is aligning, that makes any sense. Not the trajectory itself, I like that. But the path that is becoming real to get there, I don't think is going to get you there. And I think it's because I think that it would be much wiser to, before you even get to court, already win before you get there. To make these people perform and show them that after all the things that they've done, it's right here in black and white. We actually want diplomatic immunity passports and retraining for your policy enforcers to, because we'll be there too, right? Like we'll go to the training too and learn how, what our responsibilities are as Republic of Texas citizens when we encounter one of your guys' policy enforcers. Right? If you outline that right off the bat and bring it to them and say, here, sign this, because that's the performance requirements for everything that they've done, they're gonna end up with a lot more both internal and external motivation, to take that deal. Whereas if you wait for them to move, do the counter move, and go back and forth, because they're coming at it from a place of fear and offense. And the only way that you can deal with that sometimes is go back on offense, which creates more fear and animosity. So I don't think that I would recommend the series of events that I am so far aware of. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying that from what I know about the situation and where it seems as though, if I understand you correctly, as to where you want to be with this other government, it's my assessment that the way to properly do that would be to write a peace treaty initially and just send it to them. And then keep all of these other things as leverage to introduce, because now they know where you're going. Now they know what you want. You've defined your terms of victory to them, and your terms of victory don't involve them at an end of a rope, don't involve them losing their house or their pension or going to jail away from their families. It doesn't involve them losing their vacation. We don't want to harm them. We just want to be made whole. right?
Exactly.
But you define, they aren't going to get that. They aren't going to get that. So I think if you come into the situation with a statement and a peace treaty, a well thought out one, that's got a lot of input, lots of people working on it, and offer that peace treaty from the Republic of Texas, maybe directly to Donald Trump. And in that, there are, contract opportunities to take these people that, the public safety individuals that need to retrain the guys on the ground how to interact with private citizens without just trampling their Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights almost every single day. That's going to take some retraining. And
see, we were talking about this yesterday, where when any country goes to war with another country, what happens is all the treaties go out the window. And with the Southern Confederacy, all there was an armistice. There was a ceasefire, and that was it.
Yep.
And so technically, the U.S. is still at war.
Correct.
With the Confederacy. And so what I was thinking about doing is offering them to reaffirm the recognition, and which is peaceful, that was done by President Jackson in 1845 or 1844. I can't remember. It was President Jackson recognized the Republic of Texas, reaffirmed that recognition, and even we could. I don't believe there was ever a treaty of peace and recognition with the Republic of Texas and the United States. And so. But we need to look at some of the treaties, reaffirm some of those treaties, and basically say that we want to be at peace, and reaffirm them, and that would actually be good for the United States, because then they're at peace with at least part of the Confederacy, and that has certain political things where they can say that we're at peace with the Confederacy. Right now, they're still at war. And so we need to that's what I was thinking. Is reaffirm, one of those treaties, or part of some of those treaties. So I need to look at those treaties and see what exactly they say. And so then that's solely within the scope of the president. Okay, that goes directly to the president. Nobody else has that authority to deal with that. There's a case in the 50s where the state of Texas filed a suit against the United States because Texas was supposed to have come in under the it's not the Equal Protection Clause. It was the I can't remember the exact
equal footing.
I think it was Equal Footing Clause of the Articles of Confederation. Because Texas came in under an equal footing with the other 13 states of the Articles of Confederation. So if you read the preamble of the act that extends the law of the United States over the state of Texas, it says in there, Texas has joined the Confederacy and the Union. And so that's we could. This is what I'm thinking is reaffirm some of those treaties or part of those treaties, and get them to by doing that they would recognize us, and they would also be able to end the Civil War, at least partially as far as Texas is concerned. I think that would be a major thing that they would be interested in.
I think that is exactly the avenue that needs to be pursued. But then, with that treaty, performance requirements to respect the sovereignty, of the individuals as exists in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And I would also reaffirm, in that documentation that trust indenture, that whole the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, it's a trust indenture. Like it's a trust arrangement, and then. And then be able to, but I would utilize that though from not a position of recognize it. I would use it as a peace through strength, and just dictate the terms according to basically, what the fraud and what the corruption looks like now, and saying this ends. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to end it through education, outreach, retraining, and also to set the system of the governance system up, clearly define that the government is there for the benefit of the people, not the other way around.
Yeah, and offer to let bygones be bygones. Okay, we're willing to forget about the attempted murder. We're willing to forget about all that stuff. As long as we can have a peaceful and friendly relationship, and be recognized.
Yeah, and here's the rules that would make that happen according to us.
Right.
Yep, I'm with you. I think that's fantastic. The one thing that I would like to say is that to parlay that into a opportunity then to take that success. Let's go ahead and be honest. If this works, like this is history book stuff. And so to take that, that with ability comes responsibility, right? So to take that, the recognition of that fact, and to kind of pivot it into something to say, all right, well, here's what we need to do with this information. We then need to basically demand corporate sponsorship, if you will, from the United States to fund ambassadors at large, or whatever you want to call them, to bring this treaty and offer it as a provision of the treaty to the other 50 states of the Union. And that would, by consequence, prop up the Republic.
Yeah, we actually have some... I've got some commercial leads that I've got some friends of mine that are looking into factoring that are worth about $2 billion. And so we need a humanitarian project to put 80% of that into, and then I get the other 20%. And so I was thinking about giving the 80% to the Republic of Texas, and so then that would give the Republic of Texas plenty of money to operate on. And so then it really
would. That's where I'm at too, and I was going to do the same thing with the Constitutional Republic of America.
There you go, right?
Yep.
So anyways, I think that's the way to proceed. Is we need to get them to reaffirm. And so maybe I just need to send a proposal letter, basically telling them we'd like to reaffirm part of treaties of recognition and peace of these other treaties. Since there's been no peace treaty with the Confederacy or the Republic of Texas with the United States, and we're not interested in being at war. We want to have a peaceful, friendly relationship, but there's been some things that have happened that have been essentially attempted murder, and so we need to put a stop to that stuff, and we're willing to let bygones be bygones, as long as we can come to some agreement, a peaceful, friendly relationship.
I'd be very interested in helping to write that document.
Okay, well that's interesting. I hadn't really thought of that, but I'm certainly open to ideas what to put in there. I was going to sit down and start. I'm actually in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit and preparing to go to the Supreme Court over some issues. We need to probably get something going here pretty soon to the president, because the president's the one that's going to make the decision.
Right, maybe even a notice letter to let them know that it's coming. What capacity is it going to be offered in? Will it be like an actual treaty that you're going to send them right out of the bat, or will it be notice, like send them the minutes from the congressional body politic saying hey, here's what's on the table, we're going to convene, I said this, that, and the other to draft a treaty for the Republic of Texas to define the peace between the Republic and the United States. I mean, that would be one way to let them know it's coming.
What I was thinking was having a proposal letter. Basically, it'd be a proposal letter, and it would say that we would like to reaffirm all or part of previous treaties that we have in place with the Republic of Texas. And then basically with the objective of developing a peaceful, friendly relationship. And so we'd like to open negotiations on what parts are all or part of those treaties that were in place, and basically go through, summarize everything. There was a civil war, we all know that. And the Republic of Texas was part of the Southern Confederacy, and as the Republic of Texas, we know that there was no peace treaty. There was just an armistice, a ceasefire. Technically, the United States is still at war with the Confederacy, and we want to cease hostilities and have some relationship, peaceful, friendly relationship with the United States, and we think that will be good for the United States as well, because then at least Texas won't be under military occupation anymore. It'll be a peaceful, friendly relationship. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of like
exactly what you're saying. Yes. May I offer that I think that it would be wise to put into that treaty that and the reason why I'll tell you here in a little bit, but I think that it would be very wise to reaffirm the Commerce Clause of the Constitution and let them know that in no way, shape, or form is the Republic of Texas attempting to exert jurisdiction into the commerce. And so what that'll do is that will retain their sandbox, so to speak, where they get authority. So they really, on paper, won't be losing anything. They'll only be gaining. They'll be gaining the clarity of where their authority stops. And what that will do is that'll benefit the individuals that are part of their organization as this freedom movement continues to grow. And what it'll do is it'll define it'll be a good neighbor policy. High fences make good neighbors, right? And so, after studying my comprehension of the whole Revolutionary War and the events leading up to, I think that the global vested powers that be have a pretty tight grip over commerce at this point. I think that's exactly where it's going to stay. But the protections and the freedom that and the liberty in your private life that having a republic there will impart just to life in general is going to be something that maybe on another day there'll end up being a conflict over it. But for now, that would I think that would end up giving a validity to that contract, to that treaty, from the context of the maximum commercial contract law that both sides have to offer valuable conveyance for it to be a binding contract. And so, anyways.
Yeah, I like that. Matter of fact, what I have in mind is basically saying that we want to operate exclusively under common law. And so that would basically say the same thing as what you're saying. And because we're trying to offer people a common law remedy to the people of Texas, a peaceful common law remedy that works. And so we're not interested in getting involved in commerce or anything like that. We want to stick strictly in common law, and any input. We're open to input and ideas, and we're certainly need input and ideas and constructive criticism. And so we're open to that.
Well, the back door that would end up imparting to the situation is that I think that Trump might know this, but I don't think that he would fight you on it. I would imagine you could get all 50 governors in a room and talk to them about this, and probably less than 10% of them would understand what the hell you're talking about by the time the day was over. But what that does by reaffirming that relationship where the federal government retains the delegated authority to regulate commerce on behalf of we the people, and they have the right to make their own rules about it. And that's basically what the Constitution says, is, that is a granting of an authority. That's the res of the trust, is the authority to regulate commerce. And the cool thing about whoever issues the authority in a trust is ultimately in charge. And so by the inherent nature of reaffirming that in the treaty, and you make it a contract where there's valuable conveyance, which makes it binding, they can't get out of it later. And then the other thing that does is that puts we the people permanently in a superior status, standing, and jurisdiction to that federal government when it comes to the jurisdiction that the living man or woman can exist on, which is only the land and soil.
Exactly.
And so so they're going to try and come after you, but it's like, but that trust arrangement and that unbreakable trust arrangement in 6,000 years of contract law, it's doctrine. You can't. It doesn't matter how corrupt the judge is, and so that would be a really important point, I think, to make going into it, because they already exist underneath that agreement. Their authority comes from that agreement anyway. So if they say no, we want more, then you guys are in breach, and this whole agreement's null and void anyway. So we rescind the authority to regulate commerce because you guys are in breach of your fiduciary obligations according to the original convention, and then therefore you've got the bargaining power back. So
I think that it would really what it would come down to is like the way the Indian nations take care of it. The way the Indian nations take it into the courts and take care of it is they just have to take it into the courts and get the courts to and ultimately the Supreme Court issues some pretty good decisions. I'm not sure that I would be in a position to tell them that they're breach of contract and we're going to rescind. That's essentially the same as telling them you're going to war.
Right, but that's the ultimate progression. I was talking a little bit ago about being willing to it walks softly, but you got to carry a big stick. And what's the point of carrying a big stick if you can't use it? And when the situation warrants. And so I just want to point out that that is the progression of events as I see them. Given the standing of the individuals involved to the controversy, and if the individuals on the other side want to fight it, that's ultimately where I see it coming down to. I hope that it doesn't get that far, but I think that to have that understanding about what this situation might get to, should the powers that be on the other side not want to play ball. I guess I'm pointing out that it's somewhat of a once you start, you got to be willing to finish until you either lose or you get victory.
Well, that's true. But I think Trump is smart enough, and I think that the idea of being able to end the Civil War is very attractive. That'd be really good feather in Trump's hat.
Absolutely.
To basically bring an end to the Civil War. So I think that's where we want to go. I don't mind sending you a document to look it over. Maybe you have some, but I need to put it together, and I need to get with the president of the Republic of Texas, and because he's going to have to sign it, and some other people. But I think that we need to get working on that as quickly as possible. I think that's where we need to go. And get Donald Trump, because he's the one. There's actually court cases that talk about it, that international relations is solely the province of the president. And so he's the only one that has any authority to do anything. I'm going to step out for a minute, but maybe these other guys have some questions for you.
Okay. Well,
question for you.
Yeah.
Are you recommending they use the common law court to try them?
It depends on what you're trying to do. I think that if you guys ended up convening your common law court and did it under the authority, of the Republic of Texas. So I haven't been into the bylaws of the Republic of Texas, and basically what the Republic of Texas is in law is a body politic of the citizens of the Republic of Texas assembled in the business of self-governance, right? It's not it's unincorporated, but it's basically a business entity. And with that nature, its legal characteristic identity, there has to be procedure followed in order to do something like convene a grand jury. And so with Glenn right there, I would say, hey, at the next meeting, get it on the agenda to have the body politic define the process according to the maxims of contract law, what it takes to convene a grand jury when we the people want to issue an indictment, but that's what you should do, is mimic their policy so that it makes sense to them, because theoretically you've got the capacity and the authority to say, okay, in the Republic of Texas, if 12 or more people get together and all collectively decide that somebody's done something we need to pay for, then we're going to here's the process and here's how you can do it. Well, if you mimic the process that's defined already, that was basically the fourth branch of government, where some sheriff or some elected official or appointed official inside the Department of Justice of that entity has the authority to say, hey, we're going to convene a grand jury and submit this evidence and see what they say. If that was all defined by the Republic of Texas as a part of the judicial branch of government inside the Republic of Texas, then you would have that authority to draw on by the body politic to say, hey, this is a lawful process, and then just go through those steps. And if it mimicked the Administrative Procedures Act, the Rule of Three, and had the same kind of requirements for proof of service and summons and all that kind of stuff, if it mimicked the existing common law court system, or at least the way that we could define it if we were able to get a hold of those reference materials, then not only would that set the precedent for what that process looks like, it would also already match that process that existed before this corporate government that we're under right now was established, and these weird wonky procedures were introduced. And so that would be my recommendation. If you want to use the common law jury process of the Republic of Texas, is absolutely, but spend some work, and some time polishing up and making that entity, really presentable, and make sure that everybody understands how to utilize it too. And that would be from maybe even being involved in writing the bylaws that the Republic of Texas may or may not, make into law concerning the grand jury process in the Republic of Texas. But that kind of authority is completely within the ability of the Republic of Texas to make a law on and publish and have valid. So that's what I would do there. If you don't want to do that, then what you can do already is you can utilize the oath of office that's required by both the state constitution, the state of Texas, the corporate municipality, and then also the United States itself. And you can create an affidavit using that as your conduit of entry, so to speak, where all of the things that you say happen to you in this interaction, you can then tie back to a alleged violation of either the Fourth Amendment or the Fifth of due process, or and then call it an emolument violation, or call it a violation of 18 U.S.C. 231, 232. 241, 242, sorry. But then going after the individuals in their private capacity happens through the corporation at Title 42, Section 18, 1983. And what that does is that takes any individual acting in their official capacity at the state or local or federal law enforcement level, and it creates a United States code. It creates a conduit, a cause of action, if you will, an open door for you to obtain remedy in a civil suit, which utilizes their system of courts, which Rule 2 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, all actions are civil. Sorry, one form of action is what it says, and everything's a civil action. All crimes are commercial. And so there's a handful of procedures for you to follow. But what I have done is combined the, and I'm working on this right now with about ready to file over in federal court in Juneau. But I'm putting together my complaint right now, which is going to be a 42 U.S.C. 1983 claim. And that's going to be for illegal detainment, illegal seizure, interrogation, threatening with a felony to coerce performance, conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy against rights, all the stuff that we come up with on one regular interaction with our policy enforcers. All of that's in there, but it's already an adjudicated matter. And the way that I'm going to, I said earlier something about, win before you go. And in my opinion, the way that you can do that or attempt to do that is to create an offer to contract for the remedy in which you seek by stating these factual claims about what happened and then saying what they were a violation of, making the claim that the individual that you were interacting with had a fiduciary obligation to you to uphold and be beholden to the trust indenture, which is the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. And that all happens by and through the oath of office, and because you're a beneficiary of that trust as a citizen, you've been damaged. Your rights that they were paid to protect were actually trampled by that individual, and now you're entitled to damages. And so you put all this in an affidavit.
So what happened?
I lost my phone here. I got to move to a different spot. It fell off. I'll be right back. So you fill out an affidavit, and you send one copy, which is signed and no. I usually make 3 to 4 copies of all these things, and I sign them in front of a notary public, and then I send them certified mail to the individual that did the harming, or to the office or attorney, or whatever their representation is in the matter. And then right in that affidavit, I've got an offer to settle. I always offer to eliminate the controversy. And depending on what they've done and the claims that I'm making, whether it be against my schedule of fees or copyright infringement or whatever it may be, it's always in the millions. And they look at it and they go, "This guy's insane." And they either throw it away or they file it away, and that's it. So once you get the green card return receipt from the certified mail, it's Form 3811, I think, from the return little green card. You get that back and you fill yourself out as certified proof of service, which is just a statement under signature, penalty of perjury, and you always invoke an unsworn declaration. I always use the one in 28 U.S.C. 1746 without the United States. It's from the laws of the Republic is what you're swearing under, penalty of perjury. And so when they respond in a manner that is either not under signature or isn't certified proof of service, you call that out and say, I don't accept this as a response, because it lacks the authentication, it lacks certification. This is hearsay. You can put whatever you want on and it's not admissible in court until it's under seal, signature, official mailing address, notarization, and some sort of a jury that says this is true and correct. And so at that point, you're having a battle of commercial invoices. And so you default them on everything that they don't answer on, and then you take that into court and say this is an admission of guilt. said these things happened and it harmed me in this way, and I have not been compensated. The affidavit of truth and fact has not been rebutted, and therefore, this is a settled matter. So I asked for a summary judgment, finding in my behalf. And basically all you're doing when you get to court at that point is you're just arguing your process. Like the facts of the matter in the affidavit that are not rebutted, that stands as truth. That it's over. The arguing about what happened is over. And so that's what I'm going to do with the Coast Guard is I'm just going to go in and seek to enforce the judgment. Because they've already agreed to everything that they did because they didn't rebut it. And those are the rules. And so you use that, which is basically a maxim of commercial contract law, but it's also supported with precedent. You use that in conjunction with the banking process of sending them a notice of default, opportunity to cure afterwards, notice of default, opportunity to cure, and then a notice of certified summary judgment. And at that point, all there is to do is to just have the courts enforce you being made whole in the way that you choose. And so I'm going to utilize that code 42 USC 1983 that they have on their books because they're beholden to follow that code. And I'm kind of walking the line between being, I mean, when I go up and show up to court, I'm an executor of that estate, I'm an executor of that account, the ancillary, just the state file number with the birth certificate, the long form. I'm sorry, the short form. But as an individual in the courtroom, a living, breathing man, I've placed those benefits and those rights into trust in that entity so that it can be seen by their court. And it takes a little bit for them to understand that. But, you know, you keep laying it out, you keep hammering them with the information, and it seems like pretty soon, by the end of it, they end up realizing exactly how much trouble they're in, and they generally give you what you want. So that's the other, you know, and regardless whether or not those circumstances individually at this point are retained and used for leverage, that's one thing that I can definitely tell you is that it never hurts to send these affidavits and get the process done because it takes a while. It takes a month and a half to get through it. You know, you got to give them 21 days to respond, and then you give them 10 days after that, and they don't respond, and then so it takes a month and a half, and then you got to take the whole thing and put it on the public record. So that the courts have to judicially notice it. Otherwise, they can, you know, they can find a loophole and get out of it if you try to bring the matter into court before it's been publicly noticed. And unless it's a defense or something. But anyhow, I would highly notice through that there and gets that information on the record and gets that leverage in place to be utilized if you need it at a different point.
Yeah. When you say publicly noticed, does that mean like a newspaper?
I use Summit County in Utah. They're ones that have been. They've got a recorder and a couple of clerks down there that are very much on our side. And so it's very easy to get anything that you want recorded with them. But you could do it in the paper. I just feel like I mean that should have the same standing. But I just feel like putting something, you know, maybe in both spots. If you're really truly trying to get the word out. Put it in the paper, put it on social media, you know, you take screenshots of everything and then also send it to the counter recorder that'll put it on the public record because, you know, that's a spot that cannot be ignored.
How much does Summit County
the paper can't either. What's that?
What do they charge Summit County?
It's not bad. It's like $20 a document, and then $1 for every page after that, and then $5 for certification.
Oh, that's not bad. That's reasonable.
It's not terrible. It's not. I mean, you might be $30-40 into something that's 10-15 pages long.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's not. In Texas, they charge you $4 a page.
Yeah.
So that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, in Alaska, it's $20 per document, and then $5 for each page after that. Yeah. So, Yeah, build your way out on your way in. Get all the document everything. Get everything in an affidavit format. And then you got to run in with the sheriff's department. Get the guy's badge number. Get his supervisor number. Get his what's the mailing? Give me your business card. Where's the mailing address where I can send you the presentment for damages?
Yeah.
For emolument violations. So
I always get a police report.
What's that?
I always get a police report.
Yeah, get a police report. And then, put all of that stuff together in when it's fresh and go, okay, here's what happened. How can I utilize this? What is the not just the monetary value or the Federal Reserve notes you can get out of it, but like, okay, who's this guy know? How many times have I been in front of this judge with this one cop, right? What are they looking for? What are they after? What are they trying to do? And then a lot of the times, you can discern what these people's motivations are. I'm finding out, or I'm coming to the conclusion, at least up in this part of the world, that most of these individuals that I'm dealing with, once they realize how much personal liability they have for the things that they're doing, they don't even look at me anymore. Like, I have not been pulled over in almost 3 years. I haven't been talked to by a trooper in 2. The federal, like the NOAA guys, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration guys that are here for the fisheries stuff that happens. They don't even look at me anymore. Like, I mean, so that doesn't happen unless there's a healthy amount of fear. And so I want to, definitely point out that if you start sending invoices and affidavits to judges and cops and stuff, all they have is offense. And it can end up, so that's, I just want to reiterate that, to the people that are listening here, remember how it felt to get that federal indictment, and go, what in the hell? I mean, obviously they're coming after you. You guys were the ones that were done wrong. And what is their solution? More tyranny and oppression, right? So you really have to be willing, I've learned anyways, to take it, define your terms of victory, then be willing to stand up for it. Take it there if you need to. I said something here a little bit ago about, propping up the rest of the republics in the original, in the 50 states through this process that Glenn is talking about utilizing with the president. Yeah, that is a valid course of events that could really be something amazing. And to think that there's not going to be people along the way that are going to take that as a giant threat, not only for what they might end up being liable for that they're doing now, that nobody's ever going to catch them on because the judges and the attorney generals and the politicians, they're all in on it. Well, if there's this whole other body politic that has more authority than the current Department of Justice in certain areas, that's going to be taken. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try and attack that and undermine it and make sure that it doesn't get to be in existence, and they're going to do that in ways that aren't good for the people that they're opposing. And so you can kind of extrapolate that down to human nature, in my opinion, where those with power, they don't want to lose it, and that equates to many different ways in which that effect of having the power is lost. And one of the ways is by being held accountable for things that you do that you know are wrong. And that definition fits most of our public servants today. And so if you're gonna start engaging with these people, in my experience, it's much better to let them know what your idea of winning looks like. And that way, you know, especially if you offer to waive all right to tort claims if they agree to your terms, you know, like that's, it seems kind of a little bit, maybe, you know, showing your hand. But I mean, if your definition of victory is clearly defined and you're willing to let bygones be bygones in order to get there, let them know that right off the bat. And put it in a contract, and that's done some. Now I didn't get the signed contract, but the charges got dropped, and I didn't go get a transcript of what happened, so they know that I'm not trying to, you know, get them individually. So you know, we've got this understanding between me and the local courts now that if they behave, I'm not coming after them, and everything that's in the past is in the past, and that's where we're going to leave it. And that seems to work pretty well. But I tell you what, it was touch and go there for a little bit. So as you guys well understand what that's like. So I just think there's going to be more of that, and to not say that completely and with clarity that, you know, fighting isn't over. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't expect that to be the case. I think that that's something that everybody should understand getting into it.
Well, anyways, we appreciate your input, and we'll see. I got to talk to the president about what exactly this proposal is going to look like, we may send you. Darren must have your email address. I'm sure we can send you the text of what we're thinking of. And if you have anything you want to contribute, we're certainly open to any of that. But I think that, you know, when this happened, I just had this feeling come over me that this is just going to be wonderful. That amazing things are going to come out of this, and I think this is really the way to do it is give them an opportunity to make peace, and I think this is the way to do it, quite frankly. I need to talk.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just need to talk to some other people about you know what exactly to move forward with.
I would ask you what you're willing to do at this point should they not agree that you guys have the standing to do what you're doing.
You know, I don't know. Actually, I mean, I have enough stuff. I had a judge. I went and filed some criminal complaints into a federal case that was dismissed because I didn't pay the filing fee. And the judge sent me an order of deficiency, told me I had to file a lawsuit. So I think they're interested in the stuff. And so what I do is I basically make wrap in all of the stuff that's been happening to me in particular, but and it's been happening to other people in the Republic of Texas, and basically, offer some sort of remedy for these people, and include the damages, because I know they want my case. But it's all started after I got involved with the Republic of Texas, and so that's why I think that I can. These are just taking reprisals for political beliefs. It's continuous, and it's just been going on and on, for 20 years.
Yeah. So, what is the political climate inside the Republic of Texas right now in regards to following through with the common defense? When, I mean, and I'm not talking about just passing a resolution and going crazy. I'm talking about, once the administrative remedy process is exhausted, and I hear what you're saying is that the successes and all that kind of stuff, and that they're interested. I just don't think that the kind of progress and the kind of attention that you're, not necessarily attention, but the kind of progress that you're talking about is necessarily attainable from an individual standpoint, which is kind of what I was talking about a little bit ago in the beginning of the conversation about, what the individuals want to do with their collective capacity to claim damages against the corporation with everything that's going on there. I think that oh man, I'm getting into the territory here where I know that if I just come right out and say this clearly, that I'm going to sound like I'm telling you your business, but at risk of seeming forward. I think that unless the Republic of Texas has the ability to say no to the federal corporation, especially in matters where there's repeated offenses, where there's precedent, I think that it would be very good for the Republic of Texas to go through the process of identifying the places where the corporate municipality is usurping rights and authority that they don't have, that they were never delegated. Reference the treaties, reference the Constitution, reference the historical record that supports this assertion, and then pass a resolution saying that, hey, we're going to defend our citizens, which is our obligation. As this body politic authority to exist is to benefit the people of the nation that it represents. We have a fiduciary obligation to stop this. And we're asking you guys nicely to come to the table so that you can understand what you're doing that you need to stop. Because clearly you guys don't get it yet. And this is, of course, the Republic speaking to the United States, right? And then, I wouldn't give them any ultimatums or anything like that, or just say, hey, no, you guys are out of line, and this is going to stop, and here's how we'd like to deal with it. Let's sit down and talk. But, to attempt to negotiate that from a position that doesn't have, it doesn't have any muscle behind it. I don't know how effective you're going to be on propping up the validity of the Republic itself if the Republic itself isn't the entity that's utilized, the authority and the standing of that entity isn't utilized to make this assertion. And once again, it's not that I think that there's anything wrong with your process, Glenn, or that, I've already learned numerous extra factors to put in mind.
I'm a senator with the Republic of Texas, and I can tell you that if we do send something, it will come from the Republic of Texas. It'll be signed by the president, and there'll be other people that'll be signing it. And it'll be, so we'll see. That's all I can say. But I think that they'll be interested, and I think Trump is a good guy. I think that he wants to. I think that he is his opus to the United States, and so I think that he's a good guy, and I think that he's going to want to end the Civil War. I think that'd be a major feather in his cap. I guess we'll see. That's all I can do. All you can do is ask the question, right? And then if they turn you down, then they turn you down. And
well, that means they're still declaring war on you, though. So what does that mean?
Well, if you're gonna ask the question, why not ask the Supreme Court for memorial and declaratory judgment?
Because I don't believe that the Supreme Court has the authority to declare peace. I'm pretty sure that is an executive process.
That's solely within the president's authority. And that's solely within the president's authority.
Depends on which office of the presidency he sits in, I would suppose.
Mute him.
Well, Glenn, the bonnet or B, I might want to, not necessarily be in the bonnet, but the one thing that I would urge there to be thought and discussion on is, no doubt about it, this is a big step. And it's very exciting. In the event that there is pushback or uncooperation that you're not expecting, because I mean, I completely agree with you. I have confirmation bias about how cool this would be and how good it would be for everybody. But we're looking at it, from our limited perspective. And I would imagine that, should one of us have the opportunity to be sworn into, some government office at the federal level with the United States, with the corporation, and obtain a top secret clearance. Now, I'm not saying that our overall, goals or morality or definition of victory would change, but our awareness as to what the landscape that we're existing in and attempting to take on this battle would definitely change with that more information. And so,
if you have somebody that fights legislation, what if you had?
Okay, we're going to end because there's people interfering with this call. Thank you very much. See ya.
All right, Glenn, I'll talk to you later.
Good luck. Yeah, there you go. There's that paranoia.
Recording.
Who's fucking interfering with our call?
His name was Eric. I don't know.
I think it was Eric Dingus. I didn't